How does one man convince an entire nation to hand him absolute power? It's a terrifying question, but one we have to understand. In the story of Adolf Hitler, the guns and armies came later. First, there were the words. He didn't seize power initially by force. He masterfully persuaded millions to give it to him. This is the story of how propaganda, fear, and a mesmerizing voice changed the world forever. After World War I, Germany was a nation on its knees. The Treaty of Versailles had stripped it of territory, military power, and national pride, forcing it to accept sole blame for the war and pay crippling reparations. This national humiliation was compounded by economic disaster. Hyperinflation was so rampant that people used wheelbarrows full of worthless cash just to buy a loaf of bread. Savings were wiped out overnight. Despair and anger were the air that everyone breathed. It was into this chaos that a failed artist and disillusioned war veteran named Adolf Hitler stepped. In 1919, he joined a small, obscure group called the German Workers' Party. It was just one of many fringe political groups in Munich at the time, with only a few dozen members. But Hitler saw something others didn't: potential. He quickly realized he had a rare and powerful talent: public speaking. While others gave dry, academic lectures, Hitler delivered speeches with raw, theatrical emotion. He didn't just speak, he performed. He would start calmly, almost hesitantly, drawing the audience in, making them lean forward to hear. Then, his voice would rise. His gestures would become more frantic, building to a screaming, vein-popping crescendo. He spoke of betrayal, of humiliation, of a glorious past stolen from them. He tapped directly into the deep well of resentment felt by ordinary Germans. He gave them simple answers to complex problems. Who was to blame for their suffering? According to Hitler, it was a conspiracy of external enemies and internal traitors. The Allied powers, the politicians who signed the Versailles Treaty, whom he called the November criminals, and, most insidiously, Germany's Jewish population. He wove a powerful narrative of victimhood and revenge, promising to restore Germany's honor and strength. People who felt powerless and forgotten suddenly felt seen and heard. His words were a balm for their wounded pride. Within a year, Hitler had taken control of the German Workers' Party, renaming it the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the Nazi Party for short. He wasn't just its leader, he was its central attraction. The party began organizing larger and larger rallies, not just as political meetings, but as grand spectacles. These weren't just speeches. They were carefully choreographed events designed to overwhelm the senses and create a feeling of belonging to something massive and powerful. Imagine thousands of people packed into a beer hall, the air thick with smoke and anticipation. Then the sound of marching boots, the rhythmic pounding of drums, torches flicker, casting long, dramatic shadows. Huge banners with the stark graphic symbol of the swastika hang from the ceiling, creating an almost religious atmosphere. And then Hitler would appear, bathed in a spotlight. This wasn't politics, it was mass hypnosis. The individual was meant to be swallowed up by the crowd, to feel a sense of unity and shared purpose that they lacked in their everyday lives. For people who felt isolated and broken, this collective energy was intoxicating. The propaganda machine, masterminded by Joseph Goebbels, extended far beyond these rallies. The message was simple, relentless, and everywhere. Posters plastered on every street corner depicted Hitler not as a politician, but as a messianic figure, a savior sent to rescue Germany. He was shown against a radiant light, looking sternly but benevolently over the German people. He was the strong father figure the nation craved. The posters used bold fonts and simple, punchy slogans. One people, one empire, one leader. Our last hope, Hitler. They created a powerful cult of personality. Hitler was portrayed as a man who had sacrificed his personal life for the nation, a tireless worker dedicated solely to the German people. This carefully crafted image was a lie, of course. but it was incredibly effective. At the same time, the propaganda relentlessly dehumanized its chosen enemies. Jewish people were depicted in vile caricatures as greedy, conspiratorial figures, poisoning the nation from within. This constant repetition of lies, this constant stoking of fear and hatred, began to normalize prejudice and make the unthinkable seem logical. As the Great Depression hit Germany in the late 1920s, unemployment skyrocketed once again, and the fragile German democracy seemed incapable of solving the crisis. People grew tired of the endless political squabbling and instability. Hitler's message became even more appealing. He offered order instead of chaos, strength instead of weakness, and national unity instead of political division. He promised to put people back to work, to tear up the hated Treaty of Versailles, and to make Germany a great power once more. Many people, even those who were initially wary of his radicalism, began to see him as the only viable alternative. Traditional conservative politicians, underestimating him, thought they could control him. They saw his popular support as a tool they could use to achieve their own goals, and then discard him. In January 1933, they made a fatal miscalculation. They appointed him Chancellor of Germany. They believed they had tamed the beast by bringing him into the government. They couldn't have been more wrong. The story of Hitler's rise is a chilling lesson in the power of words. It shows how a charismatic leader can exploit a nation's deepest fears, grievances, and desires. It proves that a message, repeated loudly and confidently enough, can begin to sound like the truth, especially to an audience desperate for answers and hungry for hope. He didn't need to win a war to take control. He won a battle for the hearts and minds of millions of people who willingly handed him the keys to the country. It's a stark reminder that democracy is fragile, and the most dangerous weapons are not always guns, but the words that can persuade people to use them. Thank you for watching. Understanding these dark moments in history is crucial to ensuring they are never repeated. If you found this video informative, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more historical analysis. We'll see you in the next episode.